Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Well, last night the ABC aired their show Media Watch, which is a show on Auntie. We affectionately refer to as Auntie, or the Broadcasting Corporation, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, a public broadcaster, where they hold the media to account. And they covered the Friendly Geordies last night. So I'm going to play it. We're going to stop it so I don't get into trouble. And then there was some reaction on Twitter to the episode, and some of that reaction is very interesting. So we're going to look at this, and then we're going to look at reaction. And you're going to get my reaction because I haven't seen it yet.
Has been arrested, accused of stalking and intimidating Deputy Premier John Barilaro. Christo Lanker was arrested by the Fixated Persons Unit at his home on June 4.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And you may never have heard of Friendly Geordies or its attacks on New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro. But you don't need to have done to be concerned about that dramatic arrest and its message for free speech in this country.
Agree. We already agree, Mr. Barry. We agree. The message that it sends for free speech is frightening.
Friendly Geordies is a hugely popular YouTube channel fronted by a prankster and comedian, Jordan Shanks. To some, he's a satirist. To others, a savage political commentator. To others, just a brat. Shanks claims he is a journalist. But whatever he is, Friendly Geordies has around 500,000 subscribers and 130 million views for its campaigning content.
We were able to expose more corruption than the ABC 9, Fairfax and the Murdoch press combined. Why? Because we actually want to expose corruption.
Friendly Geordies fans are typically young, alienated by traditional media, and for politicians, hard to reach.
There you go. Agree. So far we're agreeing, Paul Barry. We're doing good.
Which is why Labour's former leader, Bill Shorten, and frontbenchers Tanya Plibersek and Christina Keneally have all sat down for a friendly Geordies chat. And friendliest of all is former Labour PM Kevin Rudd, who has appeared in multiple videos and told Rolling Stone approvingly last year,
in a country like Australia, where the media is so concentrated in the hands of Uncle Rupert Murdoch, there's always a need for new media voices, especially voices that are young and progressive.
So, what has Friendly Geordies done to get it into so much trouble? Well, Shanks has made plenty of enemies, including journalists and conservative politicians he trolls on a regular basis.
Here's this word, trolls. It's trolling is very it's a very interesting word, isn't it? Trolling.
National Senator Amanda Stoker spoke for many when she told Sky News,
he engages in the most vile and base and not based in substance or performance at all slurs on people who are particularly female and particularly conservative.
Really? That's why a male is suing him. Okay, all right.
Shanks' tactics certainly can be nasty when attacking politicians he doesn't like. And New South Wales National Party leader John Barilaro is one of his favourite targets. The feud between the pair began last June over land clearing in koala habitats. But in September, Shanks ramped it up by hiring Barilaro's house on Airbnb, whence he broadcast this savage criticism.
He's a con man to the core, powered by spaghetti. Not only did he use the public's money to prop up a friend's failing business, he perjured himself 9 times over.
That Bros video now has more than 700,000 views. 1 month later, Shanks escalated his attacks after interviewing locals in the rural town of Narandera, accusing Barilaro of pocketing millions of dollars in council funds.
It's the same thing as what happens with Putin, where he's just like, I am just president. Yes, I get a little bit more than the American president. Yeah, on the books, off the books, he's richer than fucking Bill Gates.
Barilaro denies any wrongdoing and is now suing Shanks and YouTube over those videos in the federal court, claiming they portray him as a corrupt conman who has committed perjury.
Well, let me tell you, Mr. Barilaro, why don't you prove that you're not what he's saying? And that would stop everybody.
He's seeking to have the 2 videos deleted, general and aggravated damages, and a court order to prevent Shanks making similar videos in the future. So, has Shanks backed down? No way. He's turned the lawsuit into viral content, making at least 4 videos about the case. It was against that background that 21-year-old producer Christo Lanka was arrested by the New South Wales Police Stalking Squad after a complaint from Barilaro. As Shanks told it last Monday in a video that now has around 1 million views.
On the 4th of June, plainclothes armed officers stormed into my employee's home, violently assaulted his family, nearly killed his dog, pinned him to the ground, handcuffed him, and dragged him into an unmarked police car.
That still sounds so unbelievable. Seriously, like when you listen to that, you would say, you're exaggerating, mate, until you see the footage, because that just sounds so unbelievable.
Lanka is facing 2 charges of stalking or intimidating to cause fear of physical or mental harm. The first relates to a university event where Lanka accompanied Shanks in this stunt.
John, you cynical son!
The second relates to this exchange between Lanka and Barilaro after the funeral of rugby league great Bob Fulton.
Hey, John. Hey, John. I've got something for you. John, I've got a lawsuit. You're suing my boss. John.
Not only were those judged to be stalking and intimidation, but Lanka's arrest was carried out by the Fixated Persons Investigations Unit, set up in the wake of the deadly Lint Cafe siege to prevent acts of violence or terrorism.
Violence or terrorism, hey?
As former New South Wales DPP Nicholas Cowdery told The Guardian,
On its face, this does not seem to be a case for which the Fixated Persons Unit was established.
New South Wales Police told The Conversation the unit's focus is supposed to be on people with an obsessive preoccupation who pursue others to an excessive or irrational degree. And criminologist Kieran Hardy is concerned that using it to target friendly Geordies could
Set a precedent about what is fixated behaviour and an appropriate use of the FPIU. If that bar is set too low, there will be a serious risk to free speech and democracy.
That is correct. Reporters won't be able to go get their stories. They won't be able to follow politicians. They won't be able to wait outside. It's going to be really, really messy.
But Barilaro, who says he feels harassed by friendly Geordies followers, is determined to see this case through, telling reporters,
people don't know half the truth and what I've endured over a long period of time, and it's now in the hands of the courts and it's in the hands of the lawyers, so I'm going to have no more to say on it, but justice will prevail.
Hopefully, justice will prevail.
Meanwhile, Lanka's strict bail conditions prevent him from commenting on the personal appearance or behaviour of Barilaro. But they do not apply to friendly Geordies, which has seen an increase in followers, mainstream media stories, and revenue since the arrest and defamation case. And as Jordan Shanks sets about crowdfunding to pay his lawyers' bills, Crikey's Cam Wilson reports he is raking it in.
It's safe to assume that Shanks has earned a minimum of $200,000 from his Patreon and YouTube accounts since Bros came out, and likely significantly more than that.
If Barilaro's aim was to reduce friendly Geordies' reach and influence, it's certainly not working. So, what could or should he have done instead? New South Wales Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party member Helen Dalton, who is a friendly Geordies fan, offered up one suggestion.
Remember when Chase's Craig Rucastle approached then Prime Minister John Howard with a giant fake axe? The PM hugged him and didn't report him to any anti-terrorist police squads. The good old days.
The good old days, hey?
The Chaser team were occasionally detained by police, but that stunt, and plenty of others like it, were generally accepted with a wink and a smile. So, is Shanks more aggressive and more personal than those Chaser stunts? Perhaps. But making political pranks into a crime is not just crazy, it is a threat to free speech. Defamation, however, is different. And if Jordan Shanks wants to be regarded as a journalist, he needs to be bound by the rules, which means if he's going to allege that anyone is corrupt, he needs to be able to prove it or pay the price.
So that was the story, and it is correct. He's got to prove it, and I guess this will all come out in court, and this is probably what is scary. So this is the Media Watch. So this part of the story here. So let's look at so this is watch the full story here. Here's the problem with journalists now. This Media Watch, you neglected the seatbelt situation mentioned here by others. You failed to mention that Barilaro or his driver lied in the police complaint, which is not shown in the segment. Then someone says the sooner Geordie disappears into the inevitable irrelevance is better. And what does Barilaro say to clearly lying his police complaint and driving away in the car without a seatbelt? That's what he did, which is interesting because I had not picked that up, but somebody has actually stated he wasn't wearing the seatbelt. Yes, it is against the law. You'll get a fine and demerit points. Double demerit points also apply. This is a gross authoritarian power, which over the line of acceptable. It has shown the fixated person's unit is unfit for public service. I'm extremely concerned, but also about the laws being pushed by the e-safety office, which means they can impose fines up to $111,000 for online abuse, which tweeting Jules and her office will be in charge of. This will be used to silence dissent against politicians and journalists. And then someone says, the online safety bill in specific exemptions. The online safety bill has specific exemptions for political discourse and media and journalistic content, both totally out of scope. The adult cyber abuse scheme is set at an extremely high threshold for adult Australians targeted with serious abuse intended to cause harm, a high bar. Hold on a second, he needs to prove it. It's right there in this segment. The police report about the incident at the funeral did not match the video. Fraudulent conduct by those in power, that's corruption. I'm even ignoring the mountain of evidence he's collected in his show. Police won't win this case. 2 occasions are not stalking. Magistrate must have regard to a pattern of behaviour. Also, one of those elements of office is intent to cause fear or harm. Neither of those were intended or likely to cause harm. Charge will be withdrawn, in my opinion. I'm more concerned with the points raised by Jordan Shanks and others. The LNP corruption must be investigated by federal ICAC. Whether to clear Barilaro's name or sort fact from fiction. By terror police getting involved, it has now made international headlines. If that's the barrier of entry to being arrested by fixated unit, they'd have a busy day at a Daniel Andrews press conference. That is correct. Because if anybody has been harassed and stalked by people, it's Daniel Andrews of Victoria, of the Premier of Victoria. If you watched any of his press conferences, wow. Anyone notice that John didn't have his seatbelt on in a moving vehicle, which is also illegally parked in a no stopping zone? The 7-minute coverage is more balanced and provides more context, but I do feel some important details were omitted, such as the police report not matching the video evidence of the event in question. It's still far better than what I've seen on tele. About time some mainstream media got worried about freedom of speech. So whilst the PM is best friends with the QAnon ambassador, great coverage, fight for our freedom of speech, vote them criminals out. Do you hold the same concerns for that poor pregnant woman arrested in Victoria for a likely protest post? Can she explicitly and publicly share a negative opinion about Daniel Andrews without getting arrested? Can people wake up? Julian Assange is in prison for publishing true information in the public interest. Dunkley suing someone for a tweet. Porter pulled some lawfare posturing with ABC. Australian comedian journalists are being arrested by counter-terrorism. Annika Smithhurst, Dan Oakes, Michael West, Marcus Rubenstein. Australian doesn't have free speech guaranteed as a constitutional right. We are not a democracy. We are in an authoritarian regime. Cue the anti-liberal, anti-Barilaro, anti-police, anti-ScoMo, anti-whatever outrage from the Soy Stasi at their ABC. The Streisand effect came from Babs not wanting people to see her house. Doing so brought so much attention to it. The Barilaro effect has seen corruption of John Barilaro amplified by the man himself, as he failed to understand criminals don't usually throw public tantrums. So it's a bit of a mix. So you've got those that believe that it's interesting because why isn't this a bigger story on TV stations, even the ABC News? Numerous legal journals and others have come out stating this act was not dissimilar to the Nazi brown shirts, not to mention the illegal misuse of power by Barilaro investigate. So, because of this, can they afford to defend themselves from an MP lawsuit? So there's lots of people coming out either way in support. So you've got the people that are pro-LNP saying that ABC are biased, and then you've got other people. But what was really interesting was this post here. This is Nicole Flint. Now, she's a politician, she's a female politician, and she's actually leaving at the end of this, at the next election. And I think she says, member for Boothby, doesn't tolerate rubbish views, especially about women. And she's found that this is my interpretation, but she's decided that LNP don't treat women right. So she's leaving. I think there was more convoluted than that, but hey. Oh, come on, Media Watch. It says, as you may never have heard of Friendly Geordies or its attack on New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro, but you don't need to have done to be concerned about the dramatic arrest and its message for free speech in this country. And she says, oh, come on, Media Watch, harassing and stalking, intimidating MPs, whether it's John Barilaro or me, is not exercising free speech. P.S. Friendly Geordies referred to me as a winding little bee and Gladys B as a penis snake, and you're defending him. Now, first of all, I've seen Nicole Flint. I've seen you in Parliament, and I think, yes, I'll leave it at that. It's the ABC hating on Conservatives as usual. If he's innocent, is this defamation? They sent the terror squad Nicole Flint. This is outrageous and not at all justified by you and Barilaro having hurt feelings. Grow up. Do I like Friendly Geordies? Hell no. Do I disagree with his producer being charged with harassment? Probably not. Do I think John Barilaro and New South Wales police abuse their power in the manner of the arrest? Absolutely. They're not defending what they said. They're defending their right to say it. If you don't want people saying offensive things about you, then don't be a public figure. Another LNP MP wanting to shut down free speech. Seemed ABC Media Watch was providing facts to the public and warning of the dangers of this over-the-top action to free speech. There are videos publicly available of both incidents described in the AVO demonstrating there was no stalking or intimidation but asking of questions and costumes, very similar to the antics of the Chasers War on everything back in Kevin Rudd's time. Perhaps if you spoke out on significant allegations of the cover-up of R and SA in your government and corruption in New South Wales government, you might have more credibility in this discussion. You don't. Go get them, girl. If the New South Wales Stalker Squad is not there to arrest stalkers like these nutters, what's it for then? So someone's tagged, whiny little bee it is. So you think approaching someone in public about a lawsuit he brought upon them as stalking and intimidating is just embarrassing? Check out the video of the first incident. Barilaro is laughing at them, doesn't look intimidated. Why do politicians get standard and victims of Why do politicians get one standard and victims of domestic abuse who are genuinely intimidated and at risk of serious assault get another? Hypocrisy in utmost starkness. We voted Conservative because you meant to uphold free speech, not punish it because it's inconvenient to you. Didn't defend them at all. There was no stalking and intimidating. Harassing, yes. Arresting that young man is an abuse of power. It's a disgrace. You just want to attack someone who attacked you. Hi, Nicole. Genuine question because I watched the video. The kid is working as a journalist, has a press pass and is regarded as a satirist. Is it okay to cancel him? Where's the line? I'm genuinely interested. So it says, we need boundaries. MP, you want consistent free speech rules. Harassment, stalking, intimidation. There isn't a modicum of class amongst this lot. So why didn't Rudd and Howard get police to charge the chasers? If you're honest and not corrupt, or if you're a decent person who isn't there for your own gain, insider trading with shares, then you don't have a reason to be a target of people who are sick to death of the criminality of your colleagues. It's not rocket science. No mention of Media Watch of Markovina renting out Barra's place, posing with sex slaves and claiming to have sex in every room. Nutty stalker. Hey, where was the sex slaves? I watched the video. So every woman actually being stalked and threatened with death from violent exes is able to get the fixated person unit to arrest them immediately. Nicole, hello? So did you watch ABC? Did you catch Four Corners last week? I'll save you the trouble of answering. Your colleagues were obviously instructed to respond with, I did not watch the program. QAnon and its danger. Any interest to you? If pursuing Barilaro for behaviour, like the attached article, when the mainstream media is harassment, then democracy is near death. His conduct at the Marco Polo Club should see him charged for failing his duties as a company director. And why shouldn't Jordan and Christo get some media attention that isn't bashing them? The MSN is pro-buzz. They're just glossing over corruption. Makes sense. Murdoch, part of the press, which champions free speech and on an almost daily basis, are the ones defending the arrest of a YouTube comedy show producer by the anti-terrorism squad at the instructions of the LNP in New South Wales. And he could go to prison for drawing a caricature of the politician. How thin would your skin have to be to find that intimidating? Conflating Barilaro's event of what happened with the fact belays the video footage of him appearing to be quite calm, not intimidated in both clips. The name calling is juvenile, but he has a right to an expression. 2 questions I'd like to ask. 1, do regular citizens receive such quick justice against perpetrators of stalking and harassment? 2, are said perpetrators ever arrested by the anti-terrorism unit? Great point. If only domestic violence victims receive this level of protection from the arm of government designed to protect them. So and of course someone referred to her, and he referred to somebody as a bag lady as well. So there is, Friendly Geordie says uncovered more corruption in New South Wales than ICAC. So there's just a whole heap of stuff. So in Friendly Geordie, it says in host. So this is the tweet. He says, Nicole, do you think it's okay that police assaulted 2 women in their own home because I, not them, made jokes about you? If so, it's great to see the coalition still believes in free speech. Why don't LNP pollies rarely put which party they are on in their profiles? I'm entirely on Jordan and Christo's side, with the exception to the claim that the arresting officers assaulted someone. He tried to pass his phone to a secondary person. If you're in custody, you don't get to start handing possessions to people. Save her tweet. If Christo gets off without a charge, sue her for defamation on her stalking comment. Return fire. And then there's this vlog. Your ABC's defending Labor's racist attack dog and his team, who have spent a better part of months harassing a politician, speaks volumes about their independence. So this is the thing. Whichever side because ABC's, because Media Watch said about the freedom of speech, you got people now saying defund the ABC because they're anti-conservatives and pro-Labor. And if they go, he went too far, then it's the other way. So, but I always believe you need to speak the truth regardless. So people are asking whether the case can be viewed on Thursday. I think people are trying to get to the matter, to the hearing. Yes, she does think it's okay. It's okay to treat people who don't agree with her in that matter. That's exactly what she's thinking. I'm wondering if it'd be okay to attend the court wearing Justice for Christo t-shirts to show our unified support. Even though it's proving difficult to find the arrested clip on YouTube, I found it, and it's about to pop 1 million views. I'd be fascinated to see Nicole's view on this. So I don't know what that is. I explain this. There are videos publicly available at both incidences described in the AVO, demonstrating that there was no stalking or intimidation, but asking of questions and costumes, very similar to the antics of the Chasers War and everything back in Kevin Rudd's time. And someone says, I doubt her followers will comprehend, though. So Nicole Flint must be really angry at Alan Jones for his Kim Jong-dan comments. Exactly. Why is it they can call him Kim Jong-dan, but they can't call Barilaro Buzz? All right. So it's caused huge, so, boom. LNP holding innocent refugees in prison-like conditions, corrupt behaviour, lying and gross incompetence, yet still get wound up about being called names. Poor souls. Oh, yes, and I moved the member no longer be heard, the Liberal way. Jordan, she wore a garbage bag. I don't think you're debating someone with the mental capacity of a Tic Tac. Maybe be a little more worried about the flog John Barilaro's abuse of power. She whines about you calling her a whiny little bee and wonders why you called her one. And she just wishes she had her own green squad instead of making really poorly thought out PR stunts. Says, friendly Geordies, amazing, isn't it? When the police in Victoria arrested the pregnant woman for incitement, it was all over the news, and Sky News Australia ripped Victoria government apart, even though Vic Pol treated her respectfully. Not a word on Sky or the media read this one. So, how dare you attack Nicole Flint? Never heard of her, but she seems like a Liberal, and all Liberals are perfect people who exercise their power perfectly. I don't know this woman, and way to make a first impression, way to defend yourself against such a horrible name, Nicole Flint. You do appear to be a whiny little bee. John Barilaro's clear abuse of power isn't even up for debate. Hypocrites like Nicole Flint only support free speech on their side. Nicole is only known for her lies and nothing else. So anyway, that is what. So tell me what you think. What do you think about the response? What do you think about the response to the story? What do you think about Nicole Flint? What do you think about the fact of Media Watch's coverage? Tell me what you think in the comments below, and we're going to keep up on this because we need to make sure that there's justice. That justice, as John Barilaro says, that justice will prevail. Yes, justice will prevail. And if he's got nothing to hide, show us that you're not corrupt. It's going to be a very interesting defamation suit, because if Jordan Shanks is doing the truth, it means that all of his evidence is going to come out. Boom. I have a feeling that once Barilaro sees what Braz sees, what Jordan has, he'll start mediation, and he'll do a Porter and try and keep it all private. That's just what I think. Anyway, I'm interested to hear what you think. Make sure you hit subscribe, ring the bell, so that you can keep up with all the latest, and there'll be updates as we get them. Thank you.